Hello, my name is Anton Siura. I'm the founding director of Siura Studio, a registered landscape architect based in Singapore. The topic I'm going to talk is understanding the execution of blue-green infrastructure in urban contexts. Why it matters to design the blue-green infrastructures. We live in a city, and as a landscape architect, we always deal with this issue, designing the built environment and how to integrate the water, how to create an ecological system, how to improve the quality of life. While urbanization is happening in many big cities, people are trying to move to the city, and this causes the forest loss. The forest loss also create a habitat loss. People living in the coastal city always losing the mangrove. And air pollution is a very bad condition for people that live in the big cities. To understand that context, when we replace the nature with a built environment, we have more water that we have to discharge to the waterway or drainage system. And this caused a very bad flooding across big cities because there are more and more people living in the city. They build school, house, apartment, while our river system is not adequate to handle this influx of many new built environments. It also happened in Singapore that in 2010, Orchard Road used to be flooded, and the flooding always caused the river pollution because everything from the garbage and rubbish around the city is mixed with the water. So this is our problem. We live in the era of climate crisis. We used to have a reliable weather, clean river, clean air. Now we cannot predict our weather anymore. Flooding was happening, and air pollution is a big things in the issue in big city. Let's learn from Singapore City, where the government has tried to improve the vegetation cover. And this is not a shortcut process. It takes time to reach what Singapore have now. In 1986, the vegetation cover used to be 35%, and now I think it's increased almost double already. The idea is really about how we return the nature to urban setting. So Singapore has been turning the city in nature, means try to bring more wildlife, bring more planting, greenery to all different scales, from the buildings, interiors to a park setting. And living in Singapore for the past 15 years, I have seen an increase of wildlife. They're coming into the cities, and these are the real pictures. There's otters, pangolin, and the recently is a tapir that appear in the city. To to improve the blue-green infrastructure system in Singapore, we have these guidelines called ABC Water Design. Basically, the design guideline is really creating tools for retaining, detaining, and treat the runoff before discharge the public drain. Basically, naturalize the drain, keep it within the plot, slowing down the runoff, clean it with the vegetation system, and then we discharge it to the waterway. This has proved to be effective because Singapore is part of the monsoon country that always have a huge rainfall. So we catch this rain, we clean it, we beautify it as part of the landscape, and we activate it as part of the outdoor program. If we look at the traditional uh, approach for doing engineering, is always doing a simple and fast one, hard engineering. It transfers the water as quickly as possible to the river or to the coast. While soft engineering is different. Soft engineering is to metabolize pollutants on site, and it clean the water. It slow down the water, and it become a nice landscape that people can enjoy. Also attract wildlife to come to the uh, within the aquatic area. So this system clean our waterfront and restore nature. And since 2006, it has launched the pilot project. Since now, each project that implement or adopt ABC water design can be certified as a successful ABC water design projects. So the execution in the urban context for blue-green infrastructures can be many aspects. It can start from the city scale, building scale, park, waterway, drainage, and street. I'm going to give several examples of the execution in different scale. So we start with the blue-green street. This is the project that was carried out in 2015. It's a pilot project by the PUB. Basically, PUB is the uh, Water Resources Agency in Singapore that want to upgrade the drainage at this existing real estate. So what we did is really about transforming the utilitarian drain into a thriving vegetation. So this used to be the drain. We open it up and it's a mix of hard and soft engineering. The top part we have a soil and the water is infiltrated through a series of opening which is from the drainage cells, and the water then clean it up before it discharges to the riverway, and this is the result. The drain become a green, and these plants help to filter the pollutants as well. Another example is how to design a detention basin. Look at the old picture. It used to be a small drain with a manhole. What we did was to open up the drain and make it as an open basins with the rocks and vegetation to help to detain and filter the runoff. And this is the result, simple results, how we turn the lawn into a huge detention basin that help to filter out the waters. And this is also another case where it used to have a strip drain and big lawn. And when we need to have a bigger capacity to hold the runoff, we open it up with a system, vegetation system and detention system, and of course with a hydraulic calculation as well. The result is the landscape that looks much more alive because it attracts butterfly, dragonfly, and many other insects to come into this mini ecosystem. So the idea of ABC water design is really how we turn the mindset, avoid concrete but provide space for more nature and water ecosystem, and creating more pleasant environment for people to walk and to see and to feel it. The next project is a blue-green building. When I in Singapore, I work it as the landscape architect project manager, and it has won the World Building of the Year. The building itself have a various space from playground, open space, water retention system, and skyrise greenery. So the idea was how we capture the rainwater, we clean it with a series of ABC water design from the green roof, vegetative filter, rain garden, and we keep it in the harvesting tank, and which we reuse for irrigation. So the overflow water also is kept within the eco pond that act as a detention and clean it with cleansing biotop. So all the water used for irrigation, all the water reused for the irrigation for the entire planter area. And at the rain time, you can see this water cascading down from the rooftop and become a part of the landscape features that can be enjoyed within the uh, inside the room. So all these three Initial planting was a small trees. After 1 year, the trees are growing fast because it received a lot of water that we took from rainwater. We recycle and we reuse and we use for taking care of the plants. And now almost the building is disappeared by this forest. And how do we apply blue-green infrastructures at the township level? We were approached by a client that has a industrial master plan about 2,500 square meter, where it has 7 rivers that coming and passing their new development. So the idea is really about transforming the mindset of changing the basic engineering, hard engineering design into a soft engineering design. And we create a different thematic along the river corridors that also have a capacity to hold water as part of the flood mitigation risk. So we changed the single-minded engineering mindset into an integrated landscape engineering design, where we create a constructed wetland island. We create a boardwalk so people can access this river ecosystem. And then the river can be used for various recreation space. And also it still have a capacity to holding a 25 years events runoff. On the edge, we plant a lot of native riparian plantings that function to protect the living ecosystem. And when the rivers discharge to the retention pond also get cleansed by series of rain garden, and it has a function to become a social space for people to walk around the lakes, to cross the lakes, and become a part of the recreational space with the clean water by the biotopes around the lake. The next project is how we implement blue-green infrastructures at the park scale. Tebet Eco Park is located in Jakarta. The project just completed in 2022. We were the lead consultants working on the projects that transformed within the 15 months. So Tebet Eco Park is located at the center of Jakarta. The size is around 7 hectares, full of mature greenery, but surrounded by many residential buildings. There are more. When the park was opened in 2022, we were surprised that there's a lot of people coming to visit the parks. There's around 60,000 people even come in one day, and we were wonder why people want to come to the parks. And so let me share about the design process from the start. When we were approached to design this, we see there's a lot of opportunity as well as the challenge. We deal with 4 agencies at the same time. The agency that handling the drain, the road that's separating the park, the sidewalks, and also the park facilities. So this was the condition when we visited the site. The perimeter drain has been damaged. The concrete canal have insufficient capacity to hold the waters, and many space has been broken. The hardscape, the trees in poor condition, and the perimeter park is occupied by illegal sellers. And within a few hours of big rain, the park is flooded because of the overwhelming uh, inflow from the huge catchment at the southern area. It comes and it overflow the entire parks. So we do a hydraulic study. Look at this flood simulation for the 10 years rain event. The original flood event in 10 years will cover this blue water surface. And we propose a naturalization system where it decreased a lot of space for floods and it become a detention system. So the idea is really working with a pre-existing park to conserve the trees, to naturalize the drain, to create a full path connectivity and inject many programs along the naturalized rivers. And programs are created along this water spine that designed for the all age users and also inclusive for everyone. We also reuse the materials that we took from the site, such as the existing stone wall, paving, and this turned into the path completion or gabion wall. Working with the locals is really about understanding the local cultures and context. So we do a lot of mock-up for the bioengineering. For example, we have a gabion wall that is planted with vegetation, and this was the construction image showing uh, that when the river is open up and when we put in the new loose structures such as rocks, riprap, and geotextile, the river become more wider and slower in movement. And then we planted all those uh, bioengineering system with the native plants. The result is amazing. The existing park that used to be separated by concrete canal now is united by the river renaturalization. It creates a porous embankment, increase hydraulic capacity, and attract biodiversity. And while most of the trees are still retained. So this is the overview from the top. When the river has been renaturalized, we create the programs around that rivers. We have a pavilion with existing trees that is still intact. We have a bridge that connect the two separated parks. And whenever there's no existing trees, we keep it as a plaza. And whenever there's a lot of trees, we keep it as part of the landscape program. And this is showing different methods of integrating the blue-green infrastructures within the park setting. This picture showing how we use geotextile when we have a space, when we don't have many trees, and when we have a trees, we use a riprap system with a small slope. And when we have a lot of structures like trees, and we so create a viewing decks that meander along the trees with a gabion wall retaining system. So the impact is powerful. When we renaturalize the existing canal and turn it into the natural slope, it allows for the animals to nest, to rest on the slope, and allow people to come down to be closer to the water. This showing how the parks now also performing as a flood mitigation for the entire neighborhood. The capacity has been increased 2 times, that it detains the waters at the dedicated area during the peak rainfall time. So this video showing the difference between before construction and after construction. There are more space to keep the water, and after a few hours, the water is subsides, and the vegetation are keeping the ground and the erosion control is working very well. There's also space that we design for as a constructed wetland. This happens when there are a lot of drains coming into the big canals without being filtered, and this caused the flooded land along the constructed wetland area. So the idea is really to create these islands of waters that function as a detention and cleansing, and also introducing the boardwalk that people can see the process directly. So the result is a space that used to be dirty and flooded and now become a thriving, active blue-green open space. So we changed this condition from man-made intervention into a nature intervention and into a thriving nature that attract more biodiversity and wildlife, fishes, frogs butterfly and dragonfly all come to here. So we have seen the transformation, a simple gesture of creating the bluegill infrastructure, allowing animals to come back to the urban context. We see different kind of amphibian, mammals, insects, or birds coming to this uh, very crowded Jakarta city. So, as a summary, water is not a burden. We have seen these pictures many times in the big cities, but when we turn it into beautiful landscape, it makes people want to be close to the water. And the kids that used to be away from this condition now getting closer to play with the water. So let's make friend with nature.